Humanity's worst crew versus an alien mastermind. How pure chaos accidentally saved the galaxy. Captain Rex Chaos. Murphy stared at the blinking red light on his console with the same expression most people reserved for finding a dead fish in their coffee. The light had been blinking for 3 days now, and nobody on the UES Probability Error could figure out what it meant. "Sir," called out Ensign Jinx from the communication station, her voice carrying that particular note of barely contained panic that had become the ship's unofficial theme song. "I'm getting some kind of transmission, but it's weird." Rex scratched his stubbled chin. Everything was weird aboard the Probability Error. That's what happened when you took the worst-performing officers from across the United Earth Fleet and stuck them together on a patrol ship that was supposedly exploring the outer rim. In reality, they were as far from anything important as the brass could manage without actually court-martialing them. "Define weird, Jinx," Rex said, spinning his captain's chair around to face her. The chair squeaked. Everything on this ship squeaked, groaned, or made sounds that defied physics. "Well, sir, it's in 17 different languages, including 3 that our computers say don't exist, and it keeps repeating the phrase, 'The purple elephant dances at midnight,' in what I think might be ancient Sumerian." Rex nodded as if this made perfect sense. After 2 years commanding this particular collection of misfits, very little surprised him anymore. Any idea where it's coming from? "That's the thing, sir. According to our sensors, it's coming from inside the ship." The bridge fell silent except for the ambient hum of life support systems and the distant sound of something exploding in engineering. That last part was normal Chief Petty Officer. Boom. Rodriguez had a talent for making things work through controlled explosions. The fact that he was still alive after 15 years of this approach was either a testament to his skill or proof that the universe had a twisted sense of humor. "Murphy to Rodriguez," Rex said, tapping his comm badge. "Boom, you wouldn't happen to be broadcasting ancient Sumerian poetry about dancing elephants, would you?" A pause, followed by the sound of more explosions. "Negative, Captain. I'm currently teaching the warp core to tango. Give me another hour and I might have it doing the foxtrot." Rex closed his eyes and counted to 10. Then he counted to 20. Then he gave up counting and opened his eyes. "Jinx, trace that signal. I want to know where it's coming from, even if it means taking apart every panel on this ship." "Already on it, sir. Signal's strongest near." "Oh," Jinx's face went pale. "Sir, it's coming from the cargo bay, the sealed cargo bay, the one we're not supposed to open." Every ship in the fleet had at least one sealed cargo bay. Usually, it contained classified equipment, diplomatic pouches, or supplies for colonies that preferred their business kept quiet. The Probability Error had inherited theirs 3 months ago when they'd been tasked with a routine supply run to the Kepler station. The fact that Kepler station had been abandoned for 6 years should have been their first clue that this wasn't routine. "Right," Rex said, standing up and straightening his uniform. The uniform was regulation, but Rex had a talent for making regulation look like a suggestion. "Let's go see what's broadcasting Sumerian poetry in our cargo bay. Jinx, you're with me. Thompson, you have the bridge." Lieutenant Thompson, the ship's navigator who had once managed to get lost in a straight line, looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Sir, are you sure that's—" "Thompson, the ship is currently traveling in a straight line through empty space. Even you can't mess that up in the next 20 minutes. Thompson's expression suggested he was willing to take that bet, but Rex was already heading for the exit. The corridors of the Probability Error were painted in what the manual called regulation gray, but what Rex privately thought of as institutional despair. The lighting flickered occasionally, not because of any malfunction, but because the ship's AI had developed what the tech manual euphemistically called personality quirks. Rex suspected the AI was just as fed up with their assignments as the crew was. "Sir," Jinx said as they walked, "what if whatever's in that cargo bay is dangerous?" "Jinx, We're aboard a ship where the chief engineer communicates with the warp core through interpretive dance. Our navigator once plotted a course that took us backwards through time. Don't ask me how that's possible. And our security chief is currently in the brig for trying to arrest himself. I think we've moved beyond worrying about dangerous and into the realm of inevitable catastrophe. They reached the cargo bay, and Rex punched in his authorization code. The door slid open with a hiss that sounded distinctly judgmental. Inside, they found boxes. Lots of boxes, all marked with symbols that looked like someone had sneezed while holding a pen. But in the center of the cargo bay sat something that definitely hadn't been there when they'd loaded the supplies. A crystalline structure about the size of a refrigerator, pulsing with soft blue light and humming what sounded suspiciously like show tunes. Well, Rex said, that's new. Jinx pulled out her tricorder and started scanning. Sir, this thing is. I don't even know what this thing is. It's giving off readings I've never seen before, and it's definitely the source of the transmissions. Rex approached the crystal, noting that the humming grew louder as he got closer. Now he could make out the tune. It was definitely My Way by Frank Sinatra, but performed by what sounded like a choir of dolphins. Hello, he said to the crystal, feeling only slightly ridiculous. I'm Captain Murphy. You're on my ship, broadcasting in ancient Sumerian, and apparently you're a fan of mid-20th century Earth music. Care to explain? The crystal pulsed brighter, and suddenly the air filled with a voice that sounded like honey mixed with static electricity. Greetings, Captain Murphy. I am, how do you say, in deep excrement. Rex blinked. Come again. I believe the correct human expression is in deep shit, though I may have the colloquialism incorrect. My name is Zephyr, and I am what you might call a refugee. A refugee from what? From my own people. I have discovered something terrible, Captain Murphy. A conspiracy that threatens not just your species, but every free-thinking being in this galaxy. And now, because of a series of unfortunate events involving a malfunctioning transport pod and your ship's remarkably unpredictable flight path, I am here, asking for your help. Rex looked at Jinx, who shrugged. Sir, this is either the most elaborate practical joke in fleet history, or we've just stumbled into something way above our pay grade. Given our track record, Rex said, I'm betting on the latter. Okay, Zephyr, I'll bite. What kind of conspiracy are we talking about? The crystal's glow shifted to a deeper blue. My people, the Vexhi, have been planning what you humans would call a hostile takeover of this sector, but not through military force. That would be too obvious, too crude. Instead, they have been infiltrating key positions throughout the galactic community, replacing leaders with loyal agents, manipulating trade routes, and slowly gaining control of the infrastructure that keeps civilization running. Sounds like standard galactic politics to me, Rex said. Perhaps, but this goes deeper. The ultimate goal is not mere conquest, but the complete elimination of what they call chaotic elements in the galaxy. Species that are unpredictable, that don't follow logical patterns, that introduce randomness into their carefully ordered plans. Jinx raised her hand. Let me guess, humans are a chaotic element. Humans are the most chaotic element they have ever encountered. Your species has a talent for doing the unexpected, for finding solutions that shouldn't work but somehow do, for turning disadvantages into advantages through sheer. What is the word? Audacity. Rex felt a strange sense of pride. So they want to wipe us out because we're too random. Not just humans. Any species that exhibits what they call destructive unpredictability. The plan is to eliminate these species one by one, making it look like natural disasters, plagues, or internal conflicts. They have already begun with the Kethmari, whose entire civilization was destroyed by what appeared to be a solar flare, but was actually a weaponized stellar manipulation device. The cargo bay fell silent except for the crystal's continued humming, which had now shifted to what sounded like Bohemian Rhapsody. Okay, Rex said finally. Let's say I believe you. What exactly do you want us to do about it? We're not exactly the fleet's elite strike force. We're more like the fleet's comic relief. That, Zephyr said, is precisely why you are perfect for this task. The Vex-High plan for every contingency, every possible response, every logical course of action. But they cannot plan for illogical responses, for actions that make no sense, for strategies that shouldn't work. You want us to stop a galactic conspiracy by being incompetent. I want you to stop a galactic conspiracy by being yourselves. Rex considered this. It was either the most brilliant strategy he'd ever heard or the most insane. Given their track record, those two things might be the same. All right, he said, but I'm going to need more information, and probably a lot more coffee. 2 hours later, the senior staff of the Probability Error had assembled in what the ship's blueprints optimistically called a conference room, but which was actually a converted storage closet with a table and some chairs that had seen better decades. Rex looked around at his team. Chief Petty Officer Rodriguez sat with his arms crossed, a small scorch mark on his forehead from his latest engineering experiment. Lieutenant Thompson was studying a star chart upside down, apparently convinced he'd discovered a new navigation technique. Ensign Jinx was frantically taking notes on everything, including Rex's coffee consumption. And Security Chief Valdez was present via video link from the brig, where he was serving a sentence he'd imposed on himself for conduct unbecoming. All right, people, Rex began. We've got a situation. Zephyr here, he gestured to the crystal, which they'd moved to the conference room and which was currently humming what sounded like the theme from Jeopardy, has informed us that there's a galactic conspiracy afoot, and apparently we're the only ones who can stop it. Sir, Thompson said, still looking at his upside-down chart, are we sure this isn't just another one of those training exercises where they test our psychological profiles? Thompson, when have we ever had a training exercise that involved a singing crystal and ancient Sumerian poetry? Good point, sir. Rodriguez leaned forward. So what's the plan, Captain? Do we blow something up? Because I've been working on a new explosive compound that... Let's keep the explosives as a backup plan, boom. Zephyr, why don't you give us the details? The crystal pulsed, and Zephyr's voice filled the room. The conspiracy is centered on a space station called Nexus Prime, located in the Vega system. It appears to be a neutral trading post, but it is actually the coordination center for the entire operation. Director Vex, the leader of this conspiracy, is currently there overseeing the final preparations for what they call Phase 7. What's Phase 7? Jinx asked. The simultaneous elimination of 12 different species across the galaxy, including humanity. The attacks are scheduled to begin in 72 hours. The room fell silent, even the crystal stopped humming. 72 hours, Rex repeated, and we're supposed to stop this how exactly? The station's security is designed to repel logical attacks, military assaults, cyber warfare, diplomatic interventions, but it is not designed to handle chaos. Define chaos, Valdez said from the screen. Unpredictable actions that disrupt carefully laid plans, random events that cascade into larger disruptions, the kind of creative problem-solving that humans excel at. Rodriguez grinned. You want us to go in there and cause trouble. I want you to go in there and be yourselves. The Vex-High have spent centuries perfecting their plans, accounting for every variable, every possible response, but they have never encountered anything like your crew. Rex stood up and began pacing, which in the small conference room meant taking 2 steps, turning around and taking 2 steps back. Okay, let's think about this. We've got a heavily defended space station, a conspiracy that's been years in the making, and 72 hours to stop the elimination of 12 species, and our secret weapon is our own incompetence. I prefer to think of it as unconventional methodology, Thompson said. Thompson, You once tried to navigate by the constellations while we were in hyperspace. And it almost worked. We ended up in the Andromeda Galaxy. But we got back, didn't we? Rex rubbed his temples. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to Nexus Prime and we're going to infiltrate this conspiracy. But we're not going to plan it. We're not going to strategize. We're just going to show up and see what happens. Sir, Jinx said, that sounds incredibly dangerous. Jinx, everything we do is incredibly dangerous. Last week, Rodriguez tried to fix the replicator and accidentally created a sentient sandwich that demanded political asylum. In my defense, Rodriguez said, that sandwich had some very valid points about workers' rights. The point is, Rex continued, we're going to do what we do best, improvise, adapt, and probably break several laws of physics in the process. Zephyr, can you get us to Nexus Prime without being detected? I can provide you with Vex-High identification codes and clearance protocols. But Captain, you must understand, once you begin this mission, there will be no turning back. Director Vex is not merely ruthless. He is brilliant, calculating, and has resources at his disposal that you cannot imagine. Zephyr, Rex said, we once defeated a Klingon battlecruiser using nothing but a malfunctioning holodeck and Thompson's interpretive dance skills. I think we can handle one megalomaniacal alien. That was a beautiful dance, Thompson said wistfully. It was terrifying, Jinx corrected. The Klingons surrendered just to make it stop. Exactly my point, Rex said. All right, people, we've got a galaxy to save and 71 hours to do it. Boom, I need you to make sure the ship doesn't explode before we get there. Thompson, plot a course to the Vega system and try not to take us through any black holes this time. Jinx, start monitoring all communications in that sector. I want to know what we're walking into. And Valdez, you're released from the brig on the condition that you don't arrest anyone unless they're actually trying to destroy the galaxy. What about you, sir? Jinx asked. Rex grinned. I'm going to do what I do best, make it up as I go along. The probability error dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vega system with all the grace of a drunk elephant attempting ballet. This was partly due to Thompson's navigation and partly due to Rodriguez's improvements to the hyperdrive, which now operated on what he called controlled chaos theory. Sir, Jinx reported from her station, I'm reading multiple ships in the area. Looks like Nexus Prime is a busy place. Rex studied the viewscreen, which showed a massive space station that looked like someone had taken a city and decided to hang it in space. Ships of dozens of different designs were docked at various ports, and the station itself bristled with communication arrays, defensive systems, and what appeared to be several shopping districts. It's bigger than I expected, Rex said. The Vex-High do not do anything small. Zephyr's voice came from the portable crystal unit they'd installed on the bridge. Nexus Prime serves as a legitimate trading hub for 17 different species. The conspiracy operates from the station's core, hidden beneath layers of bureaucracy and misdirection. How do we get inside? Thompson asked. We dock like everyone else, Rex said. Zephyr's given us the codes. We're now the merchant vessel Serendipity carrying a cargo of. What are we carrying, Zephyr? Artisanal cheese from the Rigel colonies. Cheese? Rodriguez looked offended. We're infiltrating a galactic conspiracy with cheese. It is a very popular commodity, Zephyr explained. The Vex-High have a particular fondness for aged Rigelian cheddar. Of course they do, Rex muttered. All right, Thompson, take us in. Nice and easy, try not to crash into anything expensive. Sir, I've only crashed into expensive things twice, and one of those was technically a moon. A moon that belonged to the Centauri ambassador. Details. As they approached the station, Rex couldn't help but be impressed by its size and complexity. Nexus Prime was clearly a marvel of engineering, with multiple docking bays, commercial districts, and what appeared to be residential areas. It was the kind of place where you could lose yourself for weeks and never see the same corridor twice. "Incoming transmission," Jinx announced. "Station Control is requesting our cargo manifest and purpose of visit." "Tell them we're here to sell cheese and see the sights," Rex said. "And Jinx, try to sound like a legitimate merchant captain, not like someone who's about to infiltrate a galactic conspiracy." "I'll do my best, sir." The docking procedure went surprisingly smoothly, which immediately made Rex suspicious. In his experience, when things went smoothly, it usually meant they were about to go catastrophically wrong. They were assigned to Docking Bay 94, which Rodriguez pointed out was either a coincidence or someone's idea of a joke. The bay was large enough to accommodate their ship with room to spare, and as they settled onto the deck plates, Rex could see other vessels of various sizes and configurations. "All right, people," Rex announced over the ship's comm system. "We're going in. Standard away team protocols, except we're not actually following any protocols because we don't have any. Boom, you're with me. Thompson, you're staying with the ship, try not to let anyone steal it. Jinx, you're monitoring communications. And Valdez, where is Valdez?" "He's in the cargo bay, sir," Jinx reported. "He's trying to arrest the cheese." "The cheese?" "Apparently, he thinks it's suspicious that our cover story involves dairy products." Rex closed his eyes and counted to 10. "Tell him the cheese is innocent until proven guilty. We're leaving in 5 minutes." Nexus Prime's interior was a maze of corridors, shops, restaurants, and what appeared to be several small parks complete with artificial trees and holographic birds. The architecture was a blend of different styles, reflecting the station's multicultural nature, and the air hummed with the sound of dozens of different languages being spoken simultaneously. Rex and Rodriguez walked through the main concourse, trying to look like legitimate cheese merchants, while Zephyr's portable unit, disguised as a sample case, provided directions through a nearly invisible earpiece. "The conspiracy's command center is located in Section 7 Alpha," Zephyr whispered, "but access is restricted to authorized personnel only." "Define authorized," Rex said under his breath. "High-ranking Vex High officials and their trusted associates." "Right, and how exactly are we supposed to become trusted associates?" "I have been giving this considerable thought," Zephyr said, "and I believe the answer lies in your species' remarkable talent for creative interpretation of rules." Rodriguez grinned. "I like where this is going." They made their way through the station, observing the ebb and flow of commerce and conversation. Rex noted that while the station appeared to be a normal trading post, there were subtle signs of something more sinister. Security checkpoints that seemed more thorough than necessary, surveillance devices that tracked movement patterns, and a general sense that everyone was being watched. "There," Zephyr said as they passed a corridor marked with symbols that hurt Rex's eyes to look at. "That leads to the restricted sections, but the security—" "Captain Murphy," a voice called out behind them. Rex turned to see a tall, elegant alien with silver skin and eyes like liquid mercury approaching them. The being wore what appeared to be an expensive suit and moved with the kind of confidence that suggested they owned everything they could see. "I'm sorry," Rex said. "Do we know each other?" "Not yet," the alien said with a smile that revealed too many teeth. "But I know you. I am Director Vex, and I have been very much looking forward to meeting the famous Captain Murphy." Rex felt Rodriguez tense beside him, and he could practically hear Zephyr's panic through the earpiece. This was not part of any plan, mostly because they didn't have a plan. "Famous," Rex said, trying to keep his voice casual. "I think you've got me confused with someone else. I'm just a cheese merchant." "Oh, Captain," Vex said, his smile growing wider, "there is no need for pretense. Did you really think we would not notice the arrival of the probability error? Your ship's unique energy signature is quite distinctive." Rex said. Well, this is awkward. Not at all, Vex said. In fact, your arrival is quite fortuitous. You see, I have been studying your crew for some time. Your remarkable ability to succeed through failure, to turn disasters into victories, to find solutions that should not work but somehow do. It is fascinating. Glad we could entertain you, Rodriguez said. Oh, you have done much more than entertain me, Vex said. You have taught me something very important about the nature of chaos, and now I would like to offer you a proposition. I'm listening, Rex said, though every instinct was telling him to run. Join me, Vex said simply. Your crew's unique talents could be invaluable to my organization. Think of it, no more patrol duties, no more assignments to the outer rim. You could have a real purpose, a chance to make a difference in the galaxy. What kind of difference? Rex asked. Order, Vex said. Peace. An end to the random violence and chaos that plagues our galaxy. A universe where every being knows their place, where conflicts are resolved through logic rather than force, where the unpredictable elements that cause so much suffering are managed. Rex felt a chill run down his spine. Vex was talking about the conspiracy as if it were a humanitarian mission. And what happens to the species that don't fit into your ordered universe? Rex asked. They are helped to find their proper place, Vex said. Or, if they cannot adapt, they are relocated to environments more suitable to their nature. Relocated, Rex repeated, like the Kethmari. Vex's smile faltered for just a moment. The Kethmari were an unfortunate necessity. They were simply too chaotic to coexist with a peaceful galaxy. So you killed them all. I saved the galaxy from their destructive influence, Vex said, his voice hardening. Just as I will save it from humanity's chaos, and from every other species that threatens the order we are trying to build. Rex looked at Rodriguez, who was slowly reaching for something in his toolkit. Rex gave him a barely perceptible shake of the head. Not yet. That's quite an offer, Rex said, but I'm going to have to decline. I thought you might say that, Vex said, which is why I have taken the liberty of ensuring that your ship cannot leave the station. Your crew is currently being detained by my security forces, and your vessel is being examined. Examined for what? For the source of your remarkable luck, Vex said. You see, Captain, I have come to believe that your success is not merely due to incompetence. There is something else at work, something that allows you to consistently achieve the impossible, and I intend to find out what it is. Rex felt Zephyr's portable unit vibrate against his chest, a warning signal they'd arranged. Whatever was happening, it wasn't good. Well, Rex said, this has been educational, but I think we'll be going now. I'm afraid that's not possible, Vex said. And suddenly the corridor was filled with armed guards wearing armor that looked like it had been designed by someone with a serious grudge against the concept of mercy. Rodriguez, Rex said calmly, remember that new explosive compound you were working on. The one that's completely unstable and might accidentally create a small black hole. That's the one. What about it? Please tell me you brought some with you. Rodriguez grinned and pulled a small device from his toolkit. Captain, you know me so well. Fascinating, Vex said. Even now, facing impossible odds, you resort to chaos. Very well, Captain Murphy. Let us see how your chaos fares against my order. What followed could only be described as the most destructive game of tag in galactic history. Rodriguez's explosive device didn't create a black hole, but it did manage to turn a section of the corridor into what appeared to be a localized aurora borealis. The guards, who had clearly been trained to deal with conventional weapons, stood transfixed by the pretty lights long enough for Rex and Rodriguez to sprint toward the nearest maintenance shaft. This way, Zephyr's voice crackled through the earpiece. The shaft leads to the station's central hub. Why are we going to the central hub? Rex asked as they crawled through a maintenance tunnel that was clearly not designed for human-sized beings. Because that is where Director Vex will least expect you to go, Zephyr replied. Also, it is where the station's main computer core is located. And we want to find the computer core because I may be able to interface with it and disrupt the conspiracy's communications network. Rex paused in his crawling. Zephyr, when you say interface, you don't mean anything that might, say, cause the station to explode, do you? The probability of catastrophic system failure is relatively low. Define relatively low. Less than 30%. I've had worse odds, Rodriguez said cheerfully. They emerged from the maintenance shaft into what appeared to be the station's central hub. A vast spherical chamber filled with holographic displays, floating platforms, and a computer core that looked like a crystalline tree made of pure light. Wow, Rex said. This is either really beautiful or really ominous. Both, Zephyr said. Captain, I need you to connect my portable unit to one of the access ports. But be warned, once I begin the interface, Director Vex will know exactly where we are. How long do you need? Approximately 10 minutes to access the conspiracy's database and transmit the information to the appropriate authorities. 10 minutes, Rex repeated. Rodriguez, how long can we hold off an army of angry aliens? Depends on how creative I'm allowed to get with the station's infrastructure. Get as creative as you want. Just try not to kill us in the process. Rodriguez's eyes lit up with the kind of enthusiasm that had once led him to accidentally invent a new form of matter. Captain, you just made my day. Rex connected Zephyr's unit to the nearest access port, and immediately the chamber filled with the sound of data streams and electronic harmonics. The crystalline tree began to pulse with new patterns of light, and holographic displays started showing information in languages Rex couldn't read but somehow understood were very, very bad news. The conspiracy is even larger than I thought, Zephyr said, his voice now coming from the station's speakers. They have infiltrated governments across 17 sectors, and the elimination protocols are more advanced than we believed. Captain, they are not planning to wait 72 hours. The attacks begin in 6 hours. 6 hours, Rex felt his stomach drop. Can you stop them? I can disrupt their communications and delay the attacks, but I cannot stop them entirely. The only way to end this is to capture Director Vex and force him to call off his agents. Right, Rex said. So we just need to capture the most powerful alien in this sector of the galaxy. No problem. Captain, Rodriguez called from across the chamber, where he was doing something to a control panel that was making it emit sparks and what sounded like screaming. We've got company. The chamber's main entrance dilated, and Director Vex strode in, followed by what appeared to be half the station's security force. But instead of looking angry, Vex seemed pleased. Magnificent, he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. Absolutely magnificent. Do you see what you have accomplished, Captain Murphy? In less than 1 hour, you have infiltrated my most secure facility, disrupted my communications network, and forced me to reveal the true scope of my operation. It is chaos at its most pure, most beautiful form. Glad you're enjoying yourself, Rex said, backing toward Rodriguez, who was now making the control panel emit what sounded like opera music. But we're kind of busy saving the galaxy here. But that is exactly my point, Vex said, spreading his arms wide. You are doing the impossible, achieving the unthinkable, turning my own plans against me through sheer, glorious randomness. And now I understand I have been approaching this all wrong. Come again. I have been trying to eliminate chaos, Vex said, when I should have been harnessing it. Captain Murphy, your crew represents the ultimate weapon, unpredictability itself. With your talents under my direction, we could reshape the galaxy not through order, but through controlled chaos. Rex looked at Rodriguez, who shrugged. Sir, I think he's having some kind of breakdown. I am having an epiphany, Vex declared. Captain, I am prepared to offer you a new deal. Join me not as subordinates but as partners. Together, we can create a galaxy where chaos and order exist in perfect balance. That's actually not a terrible idea, Rex said slowly. Captain, Rodriguez looked alarmed. Think about it, Boom. A galaxy where the unexpected is expected, where creativity and innovation are valued over rigid conformity, where beings like us aren't considered misfits but essential parts of the cosmic equation. You're actually considering this, Zephyr's voice crackled from the speakers. I'm considering the possibility that Vex might be right about one thing. Maybe the galaxy does need more chaos, but not the kind that involves genocide and forced relocations. Rex stepped forward and Vex's guards raised their weapons, but Vex held up a hand, stopping them. Director Vex, Rex said, you're right that the galaxy needs balance, but you're wrong about how to achieve it. You can't create balance by eliminating everything that doesn't fit your vision. You create balance by finding ways for different elements to work together. An interesting perspective, Vex said, but how do you propose to achieve such balance? By doing what humans do best, Rex said, making it up as we go along. And with that, he nodded to Rodriguez, who grinned and pressed a button on the control panel he'd been modifying. What happened next defied several laws of physics, at least 3 principles of engineering, and 1 fundamental rule of common sense. Rodriguez's modifications to the control panel had apparently turned the station's artificial gravity system into what he later described as a really big musical instrument. The chamber filled with a harmonic resonance that made everyone's bones vibrate in tune with what sounded like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony performed by a choir of whales. The guards, who had been trained to deal with weapons and explosions, had no idea how to respond to being serenaded by their own skeletons. Several of them began dancing involuntarily, while others simply stood transfixed by the unexpected beauty of the experience. Director Vex, meanwhile, was staring at Rex with an expression of pure wonder. Incredible, he whispered. You have turned my own station into a work of art. This is chaos at its most sublime. Zephyr, Rex called out over the music, please tell me you finished downloading that database. Download complete, Zephyr's voice boomed from the speakers. I am now transmitting evidence of the conspiracy to every major government and news organization in the galaxy. The elimination protocols are being shut down, and arrest warrants are being issued for all conspirators. Arrest warrants? Vex looked genuinely puzzled. But why would they want to arrest me? I was trying to save the galaxy. By committing genocide, Rex pointed out. By eliminating chaos, Vex corrected, though I admit my methods may have been flawed. The harmonic resonance began to fade, and the guards stopped dancing. But instead of resuming their threatening postures, they seemed confused, as if they'd forgotten why they were there in the first place. Director Vex, one of them said, I'm receiving reports that our agents across the galaxy are being arrested. The conspiracy has been exposed. Vex nodded slowly. Yes, I can see that. Captain Murphy, it appears you have succeeded in stopping me. Actually, Rex said, I think we've succeeded in something better than that. Which is? Showing you that chaos and order don't have to be enemies. Look around you, your guards aren't fighting us anymore. They're confused, yes, but they're not hostile. The music brought out something in them that your rigid training couldn't suppress. Vex looked around the chamber, noting that his guards were indeed standing at ease, some of them even humming along with the fading harmonics. You are suggesting, Vex said slowly, that chaos can be constructive. I'm suggesting that chaos and order are both necessary, Rex said. Order provides structure and stability. Chaos provides innovation and growth. The trick is finding the right balance. And how do you propose we find this balance? Rex grinned. The same way we do everything else, by making it up as we go along. Vex was quiet for a long moment, and Rex could almost see the alien's worldview reshaping itself in real time. "Captain Murphy," Vex said finally, "I believe I owe you an apology and perhaps a job offer." "What kind of job offer?" "The galaxy will need someone to help integrate the chaos you speak of into our existing systems. Someone who understands both the value of unpredictability and the necessity of cooperation. I can think of no one better qualified than you and your crew." Rex looked around at the chamber, at the guards who were now chatting among themselves about the music they'd just experienced, at Rodriguez, who was already sketching plans for what he called harmonic engineering, and at the holographic displays that were showing news reports of the conspiracy's collapse. "You know what, Director Vex, I think we might just take you up on that offer, but we do things our way." "I would expect nothing less," Vex said with what might have been his first genuine smile. "After all, chaos is your specialty." 6 months later, Captain Rex Chaos Murphy stood on the observation deck of Nexus Prime, watching ships from dozens of different species dock and depart in what had become the galaxy's first truly integrated trading hub. The station now operated on what Vex called organized chaos, a system where rigid rules coexisted with creative flexibility, where problems were solved through both logic and intuition, and where the unexpected was not just tolerated but celebrated. The probability error was still docked in Bay 94, though it now served as the headquarters for what had become known as the Chaos Corps, a group of misfits, outcasts, and creative thinkers from across the galaxy who specialized in solving problems that conventional methods couldn't handle. "Captain," Jinx called from behind him, "we've got a new assignment. Apparently, there's a situation in the Andromeda Galaxy involving sentient mathematics and a rebellion of geometric shapes." Rex turned and grinned. "Sentient mathematics. That sounds right up our alley. Tell Thompson to plot a course and remind Rodriguez that we're not supposed to accidentally create any new forms of life this time." "What about Director Vex?" Rex looked across the observation deck to where Vex was engaged in what appeared to be a philosophical debate with a group of traders about the nature of randomness in commerce. The former conspirator had adapted to his new role with surprising enthusiasm, though he still occasionally tried to organize things that were better left chaotic. "Let him know we're heading out," Rex said, "and tell him to keep an eye on the station while we're gone. Try not to let anyone start any galactic conspiracies." "What if someone does?" "Then we'll deal with it the same way we always do," Rex said, heading toward the docking bay. "We'll make it up as we go along." As the probability error prepared for departure, Rex reflected on how much had changed. They were still misfits, still prone to causing chaos wherever they went, still the kind of crew that made admirals reach for antacids. But now they had a purpose beyond just staying out of trouble. They were proof that sometimes the best solutions came from the most unexpected places. And in a galaxy that was learning to embrace both order and chaos, that made them exactly what the universe needed. The ship departed Nexus Prime with its usual lack of grace, leaving behind a trail of confused traffic controllers and at least one minor gravitational anomaly. But as they jumped to hyperspace, Rex couldn't help but smile. After all, chaos was their specialty. Thank you for listening.